Hello, welcome to new Reddit voiceover update. Today we will take a look on subreddit, Tales from Tech Support. Enjoy. There is nothing more permanent than a temporary solution. Network technician for corporate weirdos. Client just built out a brand new office space, ultra modern, everything sleek, decked in the proper corporate grayscale for maximum soul suckage. Truly a wonder. Oops, slight problem, no space for the monster workstations the end users need. Apparently nobody told the interior designers that desk space was needed for full towers. Whatever can we do? Oh, say the desktop guys, we can put thin clients on the desks and have the end users VPN to their real machines, which will live in stacks in the IDFs. Client agrees. Oops, slight problem, nobody kit out the IDFs to power hundreds of kilowatt monster workstations. Electricians' eyes twinkle, their wallets fatten, PSUs are added and the amperage upped. New racks are installed, everything gets dumped in the IDFs. Don't worry, this will be a temporary solution until we phase out these workstations. Sure, Jan. Oops, slight problem. Desktop guys don't have access to the IDFs to service the machines. Client won't let them, only network guys are allowed in. Very important, very secure. Okay, now the network guys have the responsibility for maintaining all the workstations, since they are in their space. Oops, slight problem. Desktop guys have a contracted slot of 5 minutes to solve issues. Network guys have a contracted slot of 24 hours. End user can't remote to his machine? Call again tomorrow. But hey, the desks look pretty. My computer won't boot anymore after you upgraded the RAM. Years ago I was making a living doing house calls to fix PCs. I had this client that lived way up in the mountains. I did about 5 jobs for him prior to this call. The last one was just installing more RAM, upgrading Windows, setting up Outlook for him, and some other simple things like that. The next day he calls me and says his computer won't boot anymore. It turns on, the Windows logo comes up, then it shuts off. I ask all the normal questions, and I'm not getting anywhere. So I decide to head up to his house to fix it in person. When I get there, he walks into the computer room with me, and starts telling me all about how it just won't start anymore ever since I came out to help the last time. So I walk over to the computer, push the button, and it comes on. He says, see, it gets this far, when the Windows logo appeared, and then just shuts down. Wait. It didn't shut down. Just booted right up as normal. Oh, of course it's working now that you're here, he says. I say maybe it's a fluke, and turn it off and back on. Boots right up. 3 more times for good measure. Nothing's wrong. Boots up every time. Then I get this feeling. I think I might know what the problem is, I say. Really? He says, but it's working. I say, do me a favor, will ya? Turn on your computer for me. He says, what? Okay. I don't see what good that'll do, though. So he walks over to the computer, leans down, and pushes the button, then looks up at the monitor. He doesn't release the button. He just sits there waiting for it to start. The Windows logo appears, which takes about, you guessed it, 5 seconds on that computer, and then, naturally, since he's still holding the power button down, it turns off. See? He exclaimed. Why does it only do that for me? So I told him. He was quite embarrassed. I knew the guy for months before that. I still have no idea why he would suddenly one day just start holding the button down like that to turn it on, and neither did he. Wherein your hero gets a bad performance review for doing a month's work in a few hours. I had been hired as a junior mainframe programmer, my first real programming job. I had just finished 6 months of COBOL training, and with Y2K approaching, the company was desperate to get more developers. I spent my first couple of months learning various mainframe technologies, including JCL, Job Control Language, which tells which jobs to run, when to run them, and how, and a few other things. A job, in this context, is a series of multiple programs, usually COBOL, run in sequence by the JCL. If any step in the job fails, there's a set of written instructions for operators to use to figure out how, or if, they can restart the job and complete it. One thing which was very painful was the process of trying to get things to run in a mainframe test region. I had to copy over the files individually and then manually cut and paste a bunch of information to get the software to run on the new region. Since I was using an IBM terminal emulator that had VBA installed, I started playing around with it and soon built myself a set of tools to automate copying JCL, all of the programs the JCL would run, and update the data for me. It made life much easier. More on that later. The team lead from hell. Our team lead was interesting. She was a former operator. She didn't know much about programming, but she knew everything else about the system. If something needed to be done, she couldn't program it easily, but if you went to her, she could tell you anything you needed to know to get it done. Why herself. A senior developer was transferred to our team, and after a few weeks, she was sick of how our nightly batch jobs would keep failing. The JCL only allocated the bare minimum of disk space to each step, and we would routinely get calls at night saying a job had run out of disk space. So this developer started upping the disk space for the jobs, but the team lead ordered her to stop. If the jobs don't fail, they won't need us. Holy shit. Our team lead was deliberately hobbling development because if we did our job too well, they might want fewer programmers and she couldn't program. As it turns out, I'm a pretty good programmer and quickly started being very productive, so the team lead naturally hated me. I was a threat. It probably also didn't help that I asked her why she kept a Bible on her desk, and in the ensuing conversation, revealed that I wasn't a Christian. Y2K was closing in and the inevitable code freeze hit. I was bored. I was sitting in my cube doing nothing all day long, so I went to the manager and asked what I could do. Go see your team lead. Uh-oh. I knew this wasn't going to end well. I went to see our team lead. She looked at me and said, "We've been needing a new mainframe test region for a while, but we haven't had the time to build one. This is perfect for you." I didn't realize the full scope, but when I asked around, I was told this was a month of cutting and pasting files from region to region. An entire month of Control-C/Control-V and manually updating all of the data in the files to point to the new region. My team lead finally found a way both to kill my productivity and punish me. I went back to my desk, seriously depressed. My first real programming job, and I was getting fucked by politics. This company also refused to let me have an empty cubicle with a window seat because those were reserved for senior developers. Then I remembered my VBA tools. They could only operate on a single JCL file at a time, but that would save me some time. But I'd still have to manually run this once for every VBA file, entering all of the new region data by hand. That's when I built my first spider. I realized I could write code to walk through the primary region and feed all of the data to the VBA code to do this for me. It took me a few hours to get it working, and I ran it. I went to a late lunch and it was almost done when I got back to my cube. After a bit of time, it finished, and in poking around, it looked like it was done. I sent out an email to my team letting them know I was finished, but since I had never done this before, could they please double-check my work? People started coming over to my cube, asking me how I did it. The manager came over, amazed. The team lead sent me an email, copied to the entire team, saying that I was sloppy and hadn't updated the email addresses. That took me a couple of minutes to fix. In my 6-month evaluation, she wrote that I was sloppy, the email addresses, and didn't show attention to detail because I had written the code in VBA. It wasn't maintainable and thus was useless to everyone else. Fortunately, the manager understood what was going on and ignored this, but that was my first experience with corporate IT politics. It's rarely stopped since then. Reception urgent is not IT urgent. It's a Wednesday morning. I've just had to do an usual new hire intro since this one started Wednesday, not Monday. Relaxing after an hour of yammering away about policy and where stuff is, I get a ticket about updating a notarizing program because there's a deadline, it's not working, and stuff needs to go out today. So, I'm working the Teams call. Pocket buzzes with my cell going off, yay call forwarding right. Hello and Dan speaking, mispronouncing my name, I need your help. New hires email doesn't show in the search bar in Outlook when I search for them. So, a really not important issue since I know new hire has an email address. We all have first initial last name at company.com here. So to try and understand how I should place this beyond absolute bottom of the stack, how critical is this? After a perceivable microsecond pause, everything is urgent, bye. Confused, I return to my work. After I finish up the ticket I was in the middle of for actual money makers, I go see reception and explain. They very clearly want none of it and me dismissively. After catching the vibe but still explaining the issue, I say okay, and so you understand this does not constitute an urgent issue. They raise their hands and say but it's urgent for me. Urgent for thee is not, necessarily, urgent for me. User thank me for not making them feel stupid. Webcam not working. That in a room number is all I had to work with. Pop my head in to find the office empty. Sat down at their laptop, logged in, opened the camera app and slid the cover off the webcam. It was working. Fixed, I told myself as I shook my head. As it was, another slow day, I decided to do a bit more testing. 5 minutes I had confirmed the webcam worked in different browsers and teams. Went back to my lair and typed up the ticket with the following text. Note, not the actual text but something close enough. Hello, I had a look at your webcam, performed some testing and maintenance and it seems to be working. During my tests I noticed the protective cover of the webcam was on. This is really easy to miss on the laptop model you have, just make sure the little slider above your cam is to the right if you want to use it. Please test and let me know if the webcam is working as intended. King regards. Turbo Jelly. Later, when coming back to lunch, said user stopped me to thank me for the email. She told me she appreciated how I explained the issue without making her feel stupid. Felt good. TL, doctor jumped to the left, and then a step to the right. Thank you for watching. If you like the video, please like and subscribe. If you want to see your favorite subreddit in next video, leave a comment.